bumpy flight on a summer
Ladies and
night.
gentlemen, you're now tuning into the very best. It's yours truly, Jazzy Fizzle, Fizzle, Fizzle. And this is In-State. And tune in, baby. Oh, boy. Yeah.
You're tuned in to Instinct Radio. This is the Dainhen Butler Show. Please call in to 478-569-6472. 6474. Today's topic is love enough? Subtopic, how to pick the perfect mate, if there is a such thing. Our second guest for the day is Coach Darrell Steele, presiding community co-chair, Governor's Office of Transition, Support and Reentry Chairman, DJJ Reentry Task Force, Leisure Time, Recreation, and Avocational Interest Group. How you doing today?
I'm well.
Nice to have you. Tell us what you do exactly, so the audience can and the listeners can know exactly where you're coming from.
Well, I'm in Clayton County and as the executive director for the HYPE program, helping young people evolve. We're on a campaign and mission to try to reach out to our youth between the ages of 14 and 24 in that Clayton County area to try and detour them from the adult system and those that are struggling with so many issues in our society today. Transitioning out of out of the YDCs, we try to meet them and focus on some of the real risk that they may have and a lot of the needs and helping them in responding to the treatment that we try to provide and the services that we provide. And I've been fortunate enough to also work with the governor of this state on the governor's the Governor's Office of Transition, Support and Reentry as the presiding co-chair, where I preside with probation, parole, and the chiefs that are on in those particular areas. And then also I work with DJJ as a chairman for them to help and support our youth in Georgia. And most of all, which is more important than anything, of all of those that I do, I'm a father of a 9 and a 10-year-old, and that's probably the most important role that I play at this particular point.
Awesome. So let's get right into it. You have 2 sons, and so love. How do you explain love to them, or do you explain it to them? What kind of effect do you allow their perception of love to have on their day-to-day, or do you even address it?
I think that it is very important for them to understand that, and I think that started. You know, a lot of times we want to start teaching love, and I know this is only from what I experienced as a child growing up. My father never really hugged or kissed. It was just inappropriate at that particular time. To even tell my mother, I don't even ever remember him even telling my mother that he loved her. It was just a spoken, known fact that he did. And for me, that's not enough. I want them to know it on a daily basis, and I push them past all that they want to try to be, and I will kiss them and show them and have them kiss each other, because we do love, because love is important. It is everything that we have made up, everything that is wrapped around love of who we are. It's because we're here today because of somebody's love. You just didn't create this by yourself. You just didn't do it. Maybe you have all these different ideologies of what you believed, and that was all created by what you came from and what you've been through. But at the end of the day, you're here because of something that loved you enough to allow you to be here. Because you could be out on the street, strung out on crack. You could be in prison. You could be dead and gone. But God loved us enough, I believe, that He allowed us to be here today. I don't think we did this on our own. But so I teach my sons that. I teach them to love themselves. I teach them to the importance of loving those that are above them and those that are in positions above them, and why we love each other. And those are the key, I believe, to one of the many that I stress on them, that love is very important.
I think one of the things I've heard you say that is very clear to me that I think is very important in everyday lives, especially when you're dealing with young people, whether from your kids or whether you're dealing with mentees or even the guys that's coming out of prison, is that not only you're speaking love, but you're showing it. Because sometimes our lives are more of an open book than it is we're just saying it, because sometimes those words, I mean, they you can throw it out there, but if they don't see it in action, if they don't see you embrace, if they don't see, you're disciplining them and correcting them, if they don't see you, coming to the games. And I think that's where we're seeing a lot of problems at, because to me, the first lessons always come from the house. You know, when kids and young men and young ladies see certain things, I learned life that they're sponges, and so they absorb everything that they hear and see. You know, and I gave that example last week. I said when you watch a kid, when you're talking, they're looking at your mouth.
Yeah.
You know, when kids see you walk, I mean, they're not asking no question. They trying to get up on that thing and try to see how to do it. You see what I'm saying? So more, what I'm hearing is that not only you're talking to them, but you're showing it to them every day, you know, by bringing them to events and, you know, being there for them, you know, through their hardship. Because I think sometimes when we say about teaching love, I mean, what type of love are we teaching? Are we talking about girlfriend, boyfriend, or we teach them father, son, or, you know, those, you know, because I think that's the most important part. You know, you said even authority, you know, even you're showing about that, you know.
Well, I have a question. So I know you said showing love, true, but what if you have people who are coming from households where there's no one to show them love? You say you came from a house where your father didn't really show you. So how did you just do that with your son because that was something you felt you were missing, or did someone show you? Did someone explain to you that you need to love yourself or you need to love others? Because, you know, you can't love someone else until you love yourself first, right? So where did you get that? I guess learn
mindset.
that mindset to show that to your children.
I think it's a combination. There's no one place that it came from. I was fortunate enough to surround myself around people that were mentors and people that I watched. I wanted to see what men did different than I did. I wanted to see what they were doing to make to have a life and to live in relationship and have sons that were different from what I had seen and grew up around. And I watched these men and I watched the lives. I think if you want to be like somebody, you need to watch that person's life. When you pick a mentor or somebody that you want, you need to watch their life. And their life lined up with a lot of qualities that I thought that I would want to see my sons doing. I watched great men that put sons through law school and into the military and had put sons into the music industry, whatever you call, however you define success. But there was a key to what they were doing, and I watched that. I never stopped reading. I joined this fatherhood initiative stuff so I could read the material. I wanted to know, what are they doing different? I would go online and find out.
Let me ask this, because the topic is, you know, how to choose the perfect mate, if there is a such thing. So how do we take some of those elements and, you know, use them to choose the perfect mate, or choose a suitable mate, if that's a better term? I
think that's an excellent question. You know, I myself, I have two sons. I was in a marriage for 13 years. And even though the outcome was not as great as I had expected after 13 years, having now going through a divorce process, but you know, even in the midst of that, we still understand as co-parenting the importance of love. And I don't worry about when my sons are with her, if they're being loved or not. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to have your children, you want to know, oh my God, what's going on the other side of town? Mm-hmm. But I know they're being loved. Now, is love enough, and how do you pick the right mate? You know, I think if I had to do it all over again, there might be some things done different. Mm-hmm. And when I talk about doing things different, I mean, you know, it's like going on the showroom of a car dealership. You need to know what you want before you get there. Mm-hmm. And when you get there, you need to also know how much you're willing to pay for it. And once you find out what you're willing to pay for it, you need to then be able to take all of that information that you've gathered and then take it back, and you need to find out, what are you willing to put into it? Mm-hmm. What are you willing to bring to the table of this relationship? I didn't look at it like that. Man, I just wanted to get married. Yeah. I just wanted, man, she was fine, and I wanted to be married. I didn't think nothing about what I really wanted, because I didn't even ask myself. I never took the time to even sit down and ask. I saw the faults. Mm-hmm. I looked past the faults. I just wanted to be married.
Is that what love does? Does love allow us or force us to look past faults?
No. Because see, what love does, love covers a multitude of all of that kind of stuff. But you know what? It doesn't hide it. From a state of saying that if a person has a problem and or a situation, you know what? I think that when you look at it, love will make you ask the question, am I really willing to deal with this? Mm-hmm. I think that infatuation will cause you to look beyond it. Especially when you bring in the flesh before you bring in the spirit. Because see, before we became anything, we had to have some type of spiritual connection.
So you saying when I see a female at the club, we should immediately pray together?
No. There's a difference between prayer and spirit. Whether you realize it or not, everyone that sits at this little table right here has a spirit.
Okay.
And there's something that makes me recognize and to be able to connect with you outside of maybe with other parts. For some reason, I connect with this, but I didn't really connect with those.
Mm-hmm.
There was a spiritual connection that we had. They had nothing to do with prayer. And a thing to do with prayer.
Yeah.
And sometimes what we do, we don't spiritually connect before we physically connect.
Gotcha.
And when you make that physical connection, that takes the whole love thing out of perspective. The whole thing of love is out the door because now it's based on a flesh connection. And I could even go in deeper in this because I was sharing this with someone the other day, but no, it is not based upon anything other than that spiritual connection that brings about the marriage component.
Let me ask this, if nobody else has anything, because in my mind, I think about some people don't have a whole lot of options. It's like, you know what, sometimes I've connected with people spiritually, but their person who I was trying to connect with was either had the capability of running circles around me, or they was already in a relationship. So, I mean, what do you do when I think about women, and there is a shortage of men, in my personal opinion, and when you start looking at the numbers, because right now in Atlanta it's 15-1, and it is Atlanta. Lenox Mall does exist, so it's a lot of gays here. It's just something you got to deal with. So, but what I'm saying is, when you don't have a whole lot of options, and from a female's perspective, how does she connect with somebody spiritually, and it's just not enough of me? It's not enough of us. Is that possible?
I really don't understand when you say there's not enough. And then I also don't understand because you're looking at numbers. Mm-hmm. And I don't think relationships are based upon numbers. See, there's a difference in quantity and quality.
That's true.
Okay, so there's a whole lot of quality, okay, as well as there may be a little bit of quantity. Mm-hmm. But when you think about, and we talked about this once before about that spiritual thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that understanding the spiritual component of it is governed by truth. So whether you look at that individual that has someone and you think you connected with them spiritually, you may be the worst deception is self-deception. Mm-hmm. And we walk around deceiving ourselves. You tell me, you deceived me. No, you were already deceived before you walked into my space. Mm-hmm. You were living a lie when you walked up on me, you were living a lie. How you gonna come to me talking about I deceived you? I didn't have to hide anything. Mm-hmm. So if you don't understand the truth of what the Spirit reveals, then you're going to accept a lie anyway. So guess what? You married a lie. Guess what? You dated a lie. Guess what? Sometimes folks don't even have to hide it anymore. You're going to accept it anyway. Because the worst deception, and they say that the very thing that will destroy us is not what white folks do, but it's self-deception. Because I'll begin to believe a lie and I'll live that lie.
Deep. Anybody? Y'all got quiet. Quiet.
No, I mean, I think you made some very valid points, man. When it concerning, what you're looking for, because like I said, we can talk about numbers, but I mean, she ain't just going around like I got 100 men out there. She's trying to find someone, that one person that she can connect with. I think it's a person for everybody in here. You know what I'm saying? But I think it depends on what people are looking for. You know
what? Sometimes when I think. Now you want to talk.
Sorry.
You have to wait now.
Let me go back to the topic. Steele, in your opinion, is love enough? In a relationship, is love enough? Can you survive and progress and stand the test of time with just love?
I believe that love is the foundation. Mm-hmm. And see, without there being a solid foundation, there's no way to build upon it. Mm-hmm. See, with love had to be the mixture of concrete that we build on. If that love is flawed and that love is compromised, if that love is done because of deception, guess what? If it ain't cracked yet, it's going to crack. See, because that love will, I think that, and I'll say this again, that love covers a multitude of crap. It covers it. But that takes genuine love. That's a love that's not compromised. And many times, and I hear the question that you asked, is love enough? I think that love is enough to build on.
But is love by itself enough? Because
love is the foundation of what we build on. But you know that there's many gifts that wrap around that whole love because out of love comes patience. It comes love, long suffering. It comes endurance. It comes with compassion. It comes with a whole lot of different characteristics of love. But if the foundation is not there, those things will never stem from it. So guess what? I do have love. Love is what we built this on. So guess what love causes me to do? Be patient with her. Guess what love does when I build on the right foundation? It allows me to have long suffering with her. When she going through her stuff, when she got that monthly thing and I can't do what I want to do. You know what? It makes me get, when you build on that, it gives me the ability to turn my head when I can be out with other sisters. There's a foundation that you build on. And that has to be the beginning foundation of the relationship. It's what got us there. Now granted, it will hold you together in hard times. But it's those things that stem around the characteristics of that love are really the whole nucleus of what it's all about. And then when you look at it, I just want to say this, and when you look at it, in the midst of that love, it's really God, because God is the one that created love. Without God, there is no love. So guess what? Everything else is counterfeit. Mm-hmm. So you're running around trying to build your life on counterfeit, because your life was never built on the very values of who God is, and God is love. And I ain't trying to preach to you.
You know what? In reference, I got to say this because he interrupted me next
Okay.
Okay, because you and Omar almost sing the same song in reference to you connect God to love, and God is love. And then when I take everything into consideration. Like, okay, last week we had Apostle, am I saying that right? Apostle Tony Hill here, and he said he has $2 that he raised up in the church. Yeah. And he wanted these, he said there was virgins until there was 22. And then he said that, it was simply from a mathematical perspective, there was a lack of men in reference to not just in his church,
the church. Mm-hmm.
but in wherever, men that, met the qualifications or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And so now both of his daughters are no longer virgins, but neither one of them is married. Neither one of them are in those relationships that he raised them based on the Bible to interact in. So what I'm saying is this, that there's because when I look at the Bible, and everything can go a certain kind of way, and all we got to do is pray about it, and it's going to be all better. But then when I start looking at the numbers, and I say, you know what? Actually, we're not producing at the rate that we used to produce. When I start looking at the census, and I take that into consideration, the God factor is very awesome. And I believe that it has a definite effect on what's going on. But when I look at the actual numbers of our existence and how we're no longer the minority, but we're beneath the minority, we are dying. We are dying. That means that we don't have enough men. If we had enough men, that there would be enough men for every woman there would be a man. And right now, it's just simply not taking place. It's not.
Let me ask you a question. I mean, what are you looking for to keep having kids? Like, are you trying to have a China over here or something?
No. Let me answer that question. What I'm looking to do is to preserve our race. When you take everything into consideration, we dying. I don't know what kind of facade that you visit. We are actually dying. We dying, man. We got right now the number one killer in Chirac or Chicago is us killing us, man. And then in California, it's been taking place so long. You know what? I went on a trip with you to San Diego. We went to San Diego for a week, and he took me to Compton. I didn't want to go to Compton. I was like, let's just go to Hollywood. We went to Compton. Okay, that's cool. But what I'm saying is, like, right now, in my mind, we passed Jack in the Box. I was like, I seen that on the movie. But then he took me to the hood. Like, we went to the hood. And so in the hood in Compton, I think we was on Cherry Hill Avenue or something like that. What took place is that some of the OGs in the neighborhood was like, man, you know what? This neighborhood is 85% Hispanic. The police, the nurses, everybody, they Hispanics. Man, I don't know if y'all not realizing that, man, we are on the endangered species list, bro. We dying every day,
that's
man.
California, period.
That's
it's
coming here. It's here.
But you know what? It's interesting because as I sit and I listen, and I have a conservative, I would say a more conservative background. And it's interesting as I sit here, and sometimes us as African Americans, if you will, tend to understand that we are the leading race of people aborting babies.
That's true.
Okay? And we are aborting children quicker than they're killing folk in Chicago.
Okay.
But they didn't tell you that in the statistics. They're not telling you about Planned Parenthood and how you can come in now and they can abort a baby.
Or the morning after period.
You better believe it, immediately. Mm-hmm. And how many babies right now are being made and the girls don't want them, and how they're finding babies, black babies, laying all in the garbage can in different places. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it has to do with, I don't know, Mr. Butler, if it tends to, I would tend to think more, I heard Mr. Howard say something in regards to the family. Because, see, the family is the nucleus. And, see, it was way back in the way, and I may go back a little further than a lot of you all at this table. I just look
Yeah, you're a little bit older.
Nah,
You look good, though, brother.
I just look like
but go back to but go back to the 80s, okay? And I can recall when the streets of our country, when the first crack cocaine hit the street, it tripped me out. It used to trip me. I was tripping. And see, I was like in high school in the 80s. And I used to see folks when they first started smoking. You know, I used to watch folks in the parks, freebasing. That used to trip me out to see them. And then all of a sudden I used to watch down in the streets how the streets got real crazy at night. People were just walking around like they were zombies. Y'all just probably heard a talk of that. Mm-hmm. We used to sit around and laugh.
Trap.
Man, my boys, we'd laugh at that because it was funny because to see people walking around because when they was hitting that dope back then, it was a different type of dope. It wasn't synthetic. Okay, so the dope they were hitting had them just like, and it was literally people walking around like the living dead. And I was looking at that stuff and we laughed about it then. But we didn't realize it, but those same folk were going to be making children and they were going to be making babies. And it came out of that, man, that the family, I noticed families, folks started losing stuff. Mm-hmm. And I started seeing cars go away and houses go away and all kind of stuff happen. And folk didn't come home and folk was breaking up. And the folk that used to live next door used to have a mom and a daddy and there wasn't no mom and a daddy no more. And I said, what the heck is going on? Now, granted, we had our own issues at my house, mm-hmm. but crack wasn't one of them. But boy, when it hit, good God Almighty, it was like something that we had never seen. I heard somebody say, just say no. Just saying no wasn't enough. Mm-hmm. And guess what? And I don't want to get too deep into that whole piece, but I'm just saying that there was a nucleus of the family that broke down.
I want to piggyback off of that because I used to be a co-host on the Regina Sunshine Show that comes on Monday at 12 o'clock on Instinct Radio. Okay, what took place was I had the opportunity of interviewing the real Rick Ross, not the big dude who got Holyfield House, like the real Rick Ross, Freeway Rick Ross. Mm-hmm. And what he touched on is that how a large percentage of the dope that he was blessed with came from the CIA. It was used actually to fund the Contra War. Right. And so when I look at, the history of these United States, and no disrespect to my veterans and those people who are diehard Americans, but let's just be up in front about it. They've never had our best interests at heart. And from the moment, I don't know if y'all think we got an Evite over here, but the people that I know, the people that I read about, they was forced over here. So no day that we was here was it meant for us to consistently win the way that we have won. When I say that crack was introduced to our neighborhoods the same way smallpox was introduced to the Indians back in those days, with not by chance, by design. They was trying to kill us then. When you talk about our kids being aborted at a increased level, it increases to the decrease of our numbers. Right. When we start talking about rappers killing each other, when we start talking about homosexuality, all that contributes to us dying. All of that contributes to us dying. And so my mindset, the reason I ask certain questions is because sometimes we get caught up in love. And it could be an emotion. And I'm going to pray to this person. And I'm going to preach. And I'm going to not preach, but I'm going to vote for this person. And they're going to come along and they're going to fix it. And they've been fixing it for a long time. But when I look at the numbers, when I look at the facts, it ain't being fixed. It's not being fixed. And so what takes place is we get caught up in this facade. Like when I talk to my 2-year-old, we explain, like, people gonna try to pet you like a puppy. You ain't no puppy, baby. You're a soldier. You're a warrior. And this is what you got to set yourself up to be. Now, within that, there are certain elements that cannot be denied or disacknowledged. They are trying to kill us. Every commercial, every movie that come out. When I looked at the dude from England, the big dude who was in the movie with T.I. Anyway, he was in the movie with a sister, and I couldn't, in my mind, I was like, he running his checkup. But in the preview of the movie, all I saw was him hitting this black woman. I didn't care what the movie was about or that Tyler Perry produced the movie. What I saw continuously at the MARTA bus stop, on the commercials on the radio, I saw a African-American male beating a African-American female. And from my research in reference to Hitler and his whole thing, it's called propaganda, baby. And a lot of times we look at entertainment, whether it be NFL or rap music or movie, it's propaganda. And we buy into it so hard that we forget what's really going on. We don't look at the numbers. And you know what we'll say? Man, leave it in God's hands, or you need to get out and vote. When that's not what's going on, we got to start being real about some of these situations, man. And what it is that we are dying. It ain't enough men for our women. It's not.
Well, there's an issue, just like there's liquor stores on the corner of
By
every other
design.
corner. Yeah, but just because there's a liquor store in there doesn't mean you have to go in there and consume it. It's a liquor store there because people are going to keep.
That's true, but when you
consuming
take this, when you fund those individuals, because when you take every major hip hop artist and you give them a liquor, anywhere from 50 Cent to Puffy to Baby, and you strategically target these individuals and you encourage them to push this poison into our neighborhoods, that's what's going to take place.
Yeah, and they're making money
every
off
major
of it.
artist right now has an alcohol beverage that they push. There are other products out there, but what I'm saying is, let's not pretend that there's not an agenda, because there's always been an agenda against us.
Okay, if there was an agenda, then why are we making the choice to sell the cocaine?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we making the choices of putting liquor stores
Let me answer
in
that.
our own community?
Let me answer that. Let me
You can answer that. People want money,
Let
so
me answer that.
people don't care if you
Let me
black,
answer
white,
that.
green, or
Let
blue.
me answer that.
That's just people.
Go back to what Steele said. When crack hit in the 80s, them kids that grew up and their mama was a crackhead and their daddy was selling the crack, if that's all they knew growing up, and then they go out in the neighborhood and they see people selling the crack, they see liquor stores, what choice do they have? What choice did they have? I know you grow up and then you learn certain other things, you expose to other things, but if that's all you've been exposed to, if the design is all you've been exposed to, then that would be really, really hard to overcome. Just like when we were locked up. A lot of guys are from those neighborhoods. A lot of guys, that's all they saw growing up. So when you get out and the only money you've ever made, the only time you've ever been able to put food on the table and clothes on your people's back and keep them lights on is by selling crack and by selling cocaine and all the other stuff. Because of design, then it's very, very hard to overcome. I'm not saying that you can't overcome it, but a lot of times, a lot of this stuff, this design, this plot against African American lives, this endangered species shit that we're going through, I'm so sorry, FCC, I'm so sorry. But it happened way before, just like God said, I knew you before you was in your mother's womb. These folks been trying to kill us before we was even born. Same thing. So
Okay. The question is this for me, and y'all can keep throwing it up all you want. The question is go back to choices, and I'm gonna keep pounding it in your head. All right, pimps.
Now, when you say
liquor
pimps,
store.
are you talking about because my dad used to be a Detroit pimp. You talking about those pimps, or you talking about the pimps that came over with the seasons and the mirrors and the guns on the boat? Because it's when you say pimps.
Okay. It's choices. What I'm saying is, see, we can keep playing this game about people sold dope to put food on the table. Yeah, it did put food on people's table because now they had the money to put it on there. Man, there's streets and selling drugs, man. And I just talked to a bunch of guys in the prison. I said, now 90% of y'all, how much of that money went towards your family? Honestly. And I know some guys had money. How much of that money actually went towards your family? Man, that life is a selfish lifestyle, bro. So I don't know how many of y'all just really sold drugs and really was so deep in the street that that's what you did. I really sold drugs and robbed so my wife can show enough have it, and I'm putting all the money in her hand. Man, that's a lie. And if most of these cats come on in and say that, they a lie. That's a selfish lifestyle.
That's true.
No
I'm not
different.
saying it's not
These guys,
right.
these black people that put in liquor stores and stuff, man, they want money. And that's what it's for.
What I'm telling you is,
And
I'm
they'll
not,
be
It's
black
choices,
out.
man.
No, that's what I
Choice.
said. It is about choices. I'm not saying that you can't overcome
Some they
that.
do.
I'm not saying that you don't have a choice. I'm not saying that you're not an individual in your thinking. But what I'm saying to you is there is a design here. There is a plot and there is a plan.
So when you
That's
know,
all I'm
when
saying.
you know a
But you know,
liquor
can I-
store
can
is
I
about to come into your neighborhood, why don't the people of the neighborhood get together and say, no, we don't want another liquor store in our neighborhood? Yes, there.
Why you can't?
In my community,
They
they
gonna
were
let
going to
those
build a
Walmarts.
Family Dollar up the street, and people was like, we don't want a Family Dollar
Well, I think
here.
what a lot of us have done is that two things I wanted to address, and I can appreciate your observation that there is a destroyer that wants to destroy us. There's no doubt about that. It's been that since the very turn of this whole life that we live.
Period.
The enemy has always been out to destroy us, and because we've always been a people that have loved God, and our forefathers that loved God, our parents that loved God, and He will always be after us. It ain't no real thing that, you know what, you need to know that you are targeted. And it's greater than that white man that carries that gun on the street. It's because the enemy wants your mind. And if he can get you to suck a crack pipe, And the white man didn't make you do it. You found the crack hole by yourself because he affected your mind. He told you that you were less and insignificant.
Or he shipped it over here to our
No,
neighborhood.
even watch this. Guess what? He didn't ship it. His plan was to use those at whatever he needed. See, most of our battle that we fight with, it ain't physical and flesh. It's spiritual. We're running around here trying to fight a battle in the flesh. You're going to a gunfight with a knife. This is a gunfight, man. This ain't no knife. It's spiritual. It's thinking. So a man thinketh, so is he. Wonder why you can't keep up? Because you can't think. Wonder why we fall behind? Because we can't think. It's thinking. So guess what? I can sit around and I can criticize the fact that, guess what? The same enemy that's destroying my community is the same enemy that's working in the hearts of those that are bringing it, giving it, selling it, sending it. And guess what? We just happen to be weak enough to use it, sell it, eat it. And then when we get it in us, the sister said we weak. I heard a long time ago when an old lady used to read out the Old Testament. I used to wonder why she was saying that. She was reading somewhere over in Isaiah, and I was a young kid. She said that every generation of men get weaker and weaker. Sister, this is prophecy. Our generations tend to get weaker and weaker as men. We have gotten weaker. In Isaiah, absolutely. No, well, wild if you want to call it wild.
Look, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. This is the Dainhen Butler Show. This is Instinct Radio. We need somebody to call in, man. We're at 478-569-6474. We are going to go to break. We'll come back. We'll have all our guests up on the panel, man, and we'll just share some of this stuff and chop it up and see if we can come up with some resolutions and, find you a love doctor or something. Stay tuned to Instinct Radio.
Tune in to the very best. Is yours truly, Jazzy Fizzle, Fizzle, Fizzle. And this is Instinct Radio, man. Tune in, baby. Oh, boy.